The Painted Bird, Jerzy Kosinski's 1965 novel The Painted Bird, is a harrowing account of a young boy of unknown ethnicity wandering through the countryside of an unnamed Eastern European country during World War II. Separated from his parents, the boy endures an unrelenting series of horrific abuses at the hands of the superstitious and brutal peasants he encounters. He is buried up to his neck, forced to watch unspeakable acts, and subjected to extreme violence, all because his dark features mark him as an outsider, a gypsy, or Jew. The title comes from a story within the book where a bird catcher paints a bird of vibrant color and releases it, only for its own flock to violently reject and kill it as an alien creature. This metaphor encapsulates the boy's experience of being relentlessly persecuted for his perceived otherness. The novel's stark, episodic structure and graphic depictions of cruelty make it a deeply disturbing examination of prejudice and the depths of human depravity in a world consumed by war. American Psycho. Bret Easton Ellis's American Psycho, published in 91, is a searing satire of 1980s consumer culture and superficiality, filtered through the mind of its narrator, Patrick Bateman. By day, Bateman is a wealthy, handsome, and utterly vapid Wall Street investment banker, obsessed with designer clothes, restaurant reservations, and the minutiae of pop music. By night, he is a sadistic serial killer who commits acts of grotesque violence, torture, and mutilation, which he describes in chillingly detailed and emotionally detached prose. The novel's controversy stems from these graphic depictions, which led to it being sold shrink wrapped in many countries. The narrative deliberately blurs the line between reality and Bateman's fantasies, leaving the reader to question whether the murders are actually happening or are simply the elaborate delusions of a man driven mad by the emptiness of his existence. The horror of American Psycho lies not just in the violence, but in the suggestion that in a world obsessed with surface appearances, the most monstrous evil can go completely unnoticed. Blood Meridian. Blood Meridian, written by Cormac McCarthy and published in 1985, is often cited as one of the darkest novels ever written. The story follows a teenager known only as the Kid who falls in with the Glanton Gang, a group of historical scalp hunters who massacred Native Americans and others along the Texas-Mexico border in the 1850s. The narrative is defined by its relentless and graphic violence, depicted in a detached, almost biblical prose. McCarthy refuses to offer any sense of redemption or moral justification for the atrocities, presenting a world where brutality is the only constant. The violence is not merely for shock value, it serves as a philosophical exploration of humanity's inherent capacity for evil and the brutal nature of American expansionism. The book's landscape is as unforgiving as its characters, a sun-scorched, blood-soaked desert that mirrors the desolation of the human soul. The Wasp Factory. Ian Banks's debut novel, The Wasp Factory, 1984, is a disturbing and bizarre coming-of-age story told from the perspective of Frank Caldame, a teenager living on a remote Scottish island with his eccentric father. Frank has developed a complex and macabre personal mythology involving ritualistic sacrifices of animals and the maintenance of the titular Wasp Factory, a device through which he attempts to divine the future. He is also a murderer, having killed 3 of his relatives as a child. The narrative delves deep into Frank's twisted psychology, revealing a world of bizarre rituals, dark family secrets, and profound alienation. The novel is unsettling for its casual treatment of violence and its exploration of themes like gender, identity, and the construction of personal reality. The book culminates in a shocking revelation that recontextualizes Frank's entire life and identity, leaving the reader to grapple with the disturbing nature of his upbringing and the profound psychological damage it has caused. Johnny Got His Gun, Dalton Trumbo's 1939 anti-war novel, Johnny Got His Gun, is a claustrophobic and devastating exploration of the human cost of conflict. The story is told from the perspective of Joe Bonham, a young American soldier who is horrifically wounded by an artillery shell in World War I. He wakes up in a hospital bed to discover he has lost his arms, legs, eyes, ears, nose, and mouth, rendering him a prisoner within his own mind. He is unable to communicate with the outside world, trapped with only his memories and thoughts. The novel is a stream of consciousness narrative that powerfully conveys Joe's terror, isolation, and desperate struggle to maintain his sanity. The horror of the book is not in graphic violence, but in its profound and relentless psychological torment. Joe's eventual attempt to communicate with his captors by tapping his head on his pillow in Morse code, pleading for either connection or death, is one of the most haunting sequences in literature, serving as a powerful indictment of the brutal and dehumanizing nature of war. House of Leaves. Mark Z. Danielewski's House of Leaves, 2000, is an experimental and multi-layered novel that redefines the concept of a haunted house story. The book is presented as a found manuscript, a complex academic study of a documentary film called The Navidson Record. This fictional film documents the experiences of a family who discovers that their house is physically impossible. It is larger on the inside than on the outside, and its internal architecture is constantly shifting and expanding into a dark labyrinthine abyss. The story is told through a dizzying array of footnotes, appendices, and unconventional formatting, where the text itself mirrors the disorienting and claustrophobic nature of the house. The horror is as much typographical as it is narrative. Words spiral, are printed backwards, or are confined to tiny boxes on otherwise empty pages, forcing the reader to physically navigate the book's unsettling structure. House of Leaves is a work of ergodic literature demanding active participation from the reader and creating a unique and deeply unsettling experience of psychological dread and spatial horror. The Judge. Central to the horror of Blood Meridian is the character of Judge Holden, a massive, hairless, and highly intelligent man who is the philosophical heart of the Glanton gang. The Judge is more than a villain. He is an almost supernatural force, a personification of war itself. He is a polymath, fluent in multiple languages, a skilled dancer, and a keen observer of the natural world. Yet he uses his intellect to justify and perpetuate endless slaughter. He famously declares that war is God, arguing that the act of conflict is the ultimate arbiter of existence, weeding out the weak and forging the strong through bloodshed. His chilling monologues and seemingly omniscient presence have led to numerous interpretations, with some readers viewing him as a demon, a Gnostic archon, or the very embodiment of mankind's darkest impulses. The Judge's character elevates the novel from a brutal historical fiction to a profound and terrifying meditation on evil.